So I have always known that prevention is the best cure that we can have. And the way this pandemic has progressed and how we are, striving to control it, just, ensures this paradigm that prevention is always better than cure. In case of infectious diseases, when we look at prevention, we obviously have to think about vaccination and the immune response. So, what exactly is a vaccine? A vaccine is a biological preparation which gives rise to active acquired immunity towards a particular infectious disease. And this was developed, this nomenclature was coined by Dr. Edward Jenner, and when he was Edward Jenner, and in this terminology, the definition of vaccine, we have active acquired immunity. Like acquired immunity. So introduce the terminology vaccinology. Now, what is vaccinology? It is science of vaccine development and production. So when we look at our immune system, it is essentially having two compartments, the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. Now, innate is inherently present. That means it is present in each individual or an organism. And because it is inherently present, obviously it is non-specific. But it is the one that responds the fastest to an insult, an injury, or a challenge. While the adaptive immune response is very specific to the challenge or insult. So it takes time. It responds slowly. And if we look at the slowly, and if we look at the profile, profile, low level, and it keeps on. And after stimulate some of the adaptive immune mechanisms. So it has two arms. One is the humoral immunity, and the other one is the cell-mediated immunity. Now, humoral immunity and the other one is the cell-mediated immunity. What essentially is delivered by the infection. With cells, they really have to be pushed into that. Now, really immunity of which the T cells form a major component. Now, the T cells, if you look at it, are of different types. You have the T helper cells, you have the T suppressor cells, you have the T killer cells. Okay, and again, that the naive T cells are stimulate antigen presenting immune antigenic insult or pathogenic cells. Antigen, yeah, the antigen cells will actually engulf the cells. So the helper T cells at the same time helper one and will stimulate this leads to you have the memory cells. Now, these memory cells are very critical. Help at the same time, it's also the and further credits. So we should want cells are very critical of immunity. So an ideal vaccine course are running to it is to interrupt or how do vaccines work. I already told you how the innate and adaptive immunity works, and the definition of vaccine tells you that vaccination that vaccine induces active adaptive immune response. This is taken up by the to the T helper cell, which will stimulate the naive B cells, T cells to mature out and produce into the mature out and produce a T cell, you know, at the same time, memory B cells now virus. So the vaccine has to activate the adaptive immune response. The adaptive immune response, as I was telling you, will involve the B cells and the T cells, obviously the immunological memory. So, what I have to tell you here is that development of COVID vaccine just didn't happen overnight. The globe working on some component of vaccine delivery pandemic, made a path-breaking movement towards COVID vaccine development. Whatever technologies they had in their arsenal, which they were developing and working upon, technologies they had in their arsenal, which they were developing and working upon, was all mobilized to handle the pandemic. They were developing and working upon was all mobilized to handle the pandemic. So when we look at approaches to treatment for infectious diseases, which is you have that you handle pandemic. you have the antibiotics. So although antibiotics is an antibiotic, at the same time, if you have an you look at community disease. Contain adjuvants like hydroxides or phosphates of aluminum, which are supposed to enhance the immune response of the body. A vaccine will also contain antibiotics to prevent bacterial contamination. It will have stabilizers like magnesium sulfate, which will stabilize the components of the vaccine so that it remains stable and effective. Then the preservatives in this mixture, which will preserve it so that there is a shelf life for the vaccine. Then the police components which were used for the preparation or manufacture of the vaccine and which have been removed during the process, but always this removal of some of these components is never 100%, and you will always have remnants of it. So these are the various components that goes into that one vaccine vial. Now, how does immunity work? I have been talking about this. This is very important for us to understand how it works. And here I will take the coronavirus as an example. You have the coronavirus, and the virus is going to enter the particular cell. You know, each virus has a favorite cell or a presumptive host cell, which will allow it to enter, and this is usually done by a receptor binding. So here, the ACE2 receptors will bind to these 5 proteins of the coronavirus, and it enters the cell, and the RNA genome of the virus is going to fuse with the nucleic acid of the host cell. And from there, the whole of the host cell machinery gets hijacked by the virus, and the viral particles are produced in excess, and then you have the combination of the full virus being formed. The mature virus is finally released from where it is going to infect a fresh cell. Now, this is the normal infection course of the virus. Then what happens to the immune system? The immune system, as the virus is getting released, the antigen presenting cells of the immune system will obviously recognize this as a foreign protein. And this is going to ingest it, digest it sort of, and provide the peptides to the helper T cells, which will work with the B cells, and you have antibody protection on one side, the cytotoxic T cells on the other, and the memory cells. So I hope by now that this aspect of immunology is very clear. Now, there is another aspect which we have been hearing, that herd immunity should develop so that the pandemic is brought under control. What do you mean by that? What is this concept of herd immunity? See, look at this cartoon. Here, there is a contagious or an infected person. And if a susceptible person comes to him, obviously this person is going to become infectious and contagious. That means he's capable of transmitting the virus. But if there is this herd immunity being developed, what is going to happen is, in a herd immunity, maximum number of people will have developed immunity towards the infectious agent. So even when such a immunized person comes in contact with a contagious person, he or she is not susceptible, so that the the route of transmission of virus gets broken. And when the route of transmission of virus gets broken, the virus is incapable of spreading from individual to individual, and thereby we are able to control the pandemic. But what we should always remember is this necessarily does not mean the virus has disappeared. This is very important to remember. I will come back to this topic once again later. Now, when we look at vaccines and the history of its development, you will know that right from the 18th century, when the first vaccine against the smallpox was used by Edward Jenner, more than almost 30 different vaccines have been developed, and